Alright, and so for my project I did Mansfield, Ohio, which is located halfway between Columbus and Cleveland off of I-71. The city of Mansfield was established in 1808 by James Hedges, Jacob Newman, and Joseph Larwell. The name Mansfield was inspired by Surveyor General Jared Mansfield, who oversaw the development of the town. Many settlers came to Mansfield due to the fertile farmlands, which inspired the name of Richland County. The first residents of Mansfield settled on a ridge that was close to a large spring, which became the main source of water for the town. The fertile soils and available farmland in Mansfield made the city an agricultural hub, and it was incorporated as a village in 1828. The village remained an agricultural economy until the arrival of the railroads in the 1840s. The first railroad to reach Mansfield was the Sandusky-Mansfield-Newark Railroad in 1846, which was followed by the Pittsburgh, Fort Wayne, and Chicago Railroad in 1849, and the Atlantic and Great Western Railroad in 1863. The arrival of the railroads led to a population boom in the village, leading to Mansfield being officially incorporated as a city in 1857. The railroads also sparked an economic transition in the city that led to Mansfield shifting to a manufacturing economy instead of the agricultural center that it was prior to the railroads. One of the first major manufacturing companies to move to Mansfield was the Ohio Brass Company. Moving into the early 1910s, Mansfield's growth as a manufacturing center continued. In 1913, the Lincoln Highway was built, and Mansfield was one of the cities included on the route. This was a huge benefit to the city as it was the first road that connected the east and west coasts. One of the most notable companies in the history of Mansfield was the Mansfield Tire and Rubber Company. It was founded in the 1910s and was as large of a brand as Goodyear until the 1980s when they declared bankruptcy. Additionally, the Japan Stove Company, which created the first consumer microwave, relocated to Mansfield. The Westinghouse Corporation also had a facility in Mansfield where they manufactured several electronic appliances, including the world's first robot, Electro. While Mansfield's economy was in a good spot in the 1950s, the city would start to experience an economic decline in the early 1970s, which was caused by several companies either declaring bankruptcy or relocating from the city. Most families had started to see reduced incomes by the late 1970s. Due to this, many residents started to leave the city in the early 1980s. Mansfield's economic decline would continue until the Great Recession, and the economic hardships culminated in the closure of the General Motors plant in Ontario in the late 2000s. Right before the Lincoln Highway was built, construction finished on the Ohio State Reformatory. The capacity of the facility upon completion was 1,900 inmates. The prison was designed by architect Levi Schofield, who wanted the building to emulate spiritual themes. The prison had numerous problems during its operation. Firstly, the prison had become extremely overcrowded by the 1930s, as many small one-person cells were actually housing 2 inmates. Additionally, conditions were terrible inside the prison. Inmates housed on the higher floors were treated to rooms that were constantly hot, while inmates on the lower floors complained of cells that were extremely cold in the winter. Several former inmates sued the prison in the late 1980s in a class action lawsuit, and as a result, a federal court ruled that the facility needed to be shut down. Since its closure, the reformatory has become a huge cultural part of Mansfield. Several films such as Air Force One, Tango and Cash, and Harry and Walter Go to New York have been filmed there. However, it is most well known as the site of filming for the critically acclaimed film, The Shawshank Redemption. The movie not only saved the preservation of the Ohio State Reformatory, but also helped improve the image of Mansfield. Since the film release, thousands of people come to Mansfield every year to either tour the prison, attend a ghost hunt, see the Shawshank Trails, or attend the Incarceration Rock Festival. The tourism that the prison has generated has helped the economy of Mansfield rebound after several tough decades. The success of the reformatory was followed by several other revitalization efforts, including the Main Street Mansfield project and the Carousel District. Both of these projects basically aimed to improve the infrastructure in downtown Mansfield and to make the area more visually appealing and to combat some of the urban decay that had become a problem since the economic decline of the 1980s. Additionally, there are several other historic preservations located throughout the city that help preserve the history of Mansfield. Firstly, there's the Malabar Farm State Park. The Malabar Farm State Park was the residence of Pulitzer Prize-winning poet Louis Bromfield, and there are several nature trails located along the residence. Additionally, there's the Oak Hill Cottage, which is the preservation efforts of the Richland County Historical Society, and basically it's an 1800 style cottage with furniture maintained, and it's pretty unique. And lastly, there's the Renaissance Theater, which has been a cultural hub in the city of Mansfield ever since it was constructed, and it's been placed on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. The economy of Mansfield has rebounded over the last decade. In the past decade, many manufacturing jobs have returned to the city, leading to increased economic opportunities for residents. Mansfield also has two of the largest hospital systems in Ohio, Avita Health and Ohio Health, which employ hundreds of healthcare professionals. The community of Mansfield is stronger than ever and continuing to grow to this day.